Welcome to Vivid Verses. If our words resonate with you, please subscribe, tap the like, and share your thoughts and your feelings in the comments. Now let's begin. You want the long version. You want the forensic accounting of how a 3-year investment collapses in 45 minutes. Fine, but we're going to need another bottle. Sit down. I'm not looking for sympathy. Sympathy is a wasted resource. It doesn't solve problems, and it doesn't change outcomes. I'm giving you the operational breakdown because most men walk into this buzzsaw blind. They let the emotion override the data. They see the tears, they hear the accusations, and they fold. I didn't fold. I audited the books. The engagement is terminated. The lease is broken. Jessica is currently staying with her mother in Jersey. To understand the crash, you have to understand the operating conditions beforehand. We weren't fighting. We weren't in a slump. On paper, the partnership was solvent. We had the 5-year roadmap, the upgrade to the townhouse, the wedding next spring, the first kid 2 years after that. We had merged finances on the household account. We had a shared calendar. It looked functional. Then came the Shanghai crisis. You know the supply chain issues we've been having with the microconductors? The Tier 1 vendor in Pudong started missing milestones. I couldn't manage it via Zoom. I had to be on the ground to physically walk the production line and renegotiate the SLA. I flew out on the 3rd of last month. That date is the first pillar of the entire situation. I have a boarding pass on my phone. I have the passport stamp. I have the Uber receipt from Pudong International to the Grand Hyatt. I was in China from the 3rd until the 24th. That is 21 days. I need you to understand what those 21 days looked like. This wasn't a business trip with cocktail hours and networking dinners. This was crisis management. I was on the factory floor from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. My phone was blowing up with calls from New York. When I got back to the hotel, I was answering emails until 2 a.m. I was running on 4 hours of sleep and caffeine. Jessica and I barely spoke. We texted, sure. Good morning, good night, miss you. The standard maintenance signals to keep the relationship idling. We had one FaceTime call on the 12th, which lasted 10 minutes before I lost the connection. I was physically, geographically, and logistically removed from my life in New York. There is no gray area here. I was 7,000 miles away. I flew back on the 24th. The flight is 14 hours. I landed at JFK at 6:30 p.m. on a Friday. I cleared customs, got a car, and walked through the door of our apartment around 8 p.m. I was a wreck. Jet lag isn't just being tired. It's a biological desynchronization. My body thought it was 8 a.m. the next day. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. Jessica was happy to see me, or she acted like it. She wanted to go out for dinner. I told her I couldn't do it. I showered, took a melatonin, and passed out. We didn't sleep together that night. I was comatose. We were intimate the next night. Saturday, the 25th. That was the first time in 22 days. Mark that date. Saturday, the 25th. Fast forward to this past Tuesday. I came home early from the office. Usually, the apartment is quiet. Tuesday, it was different. The atmosphere was curated. She had the lights dimmed, not just the switch, but candles. She was cooking ribeyes in the cast iron. She had opened a bottle of the 18 Silver Oak, which costs enough that we usually save it for contract closings or anniversaries. When you work in high-stakes negotiation, you learn to read the set. When the other party goes out of their way to make the environment comfortable, when they overservice you, they're preparing to sell you something expensive or deliver bad news. My heart rate dropped. I went into observation mode. I didn't ask what the occasion was. I washed up, changed out of my suit, and sat at the table. She was vibrating. That's the only way to describe it. Her movements were jerky. She poured the wine too fast. A drop hit the tablecloth. She wiped it up with an intensity that didn't match the spill. She was talking about my day, but she wasn't listening to the answers. She was waiting for her cue. We ate. She barely touched her food. I cut the steak, chewed, swallowed. I waited. Then she did it. She reached under the table and pulled out a box. It was a white gift box with a satin ribbon. High-end packaging. She slid it across the table to me. "Open it," she said. Her voice was tight, high pitch. I opened the lid. Inside, resting on white tissue paper, were two items. First, a pair of infant sneakers. Nike Air Jordans. White. Second, a plastic stick. A pregnancy test. The display window showed two distinct pink lines. She was watching my face. She was scanning for the reaction she had scripted in her head. She expected the movie scene. She expected me to drop the fork, tear up, jump out of my chair, and embrace her. She was banking on the biological imperative, the rush of dopamine that comes with the idea of legacy, of fatherhood, to wash over me and drown out everything else. And for about 5 seconds, it worked. I looked at the shoes. I looked at the test. I felt the heat rise in my neck. The idea of a son. The idea of the next step. It's a powerful hook. We are programmed to want it. But then my brain rebooted. The logic processor kicked in. I looked at the test again. Then I looked at the calendar on the wall in the kitchen. "You're pregnant," I said. It wasn't a question. "We're pregnant," she corrected. That's a linguistic manipulation. We imply shared credit and shared liability. It attempts to bind me to the condition immediately. "Have you seen a doctor?" I asked. She nodded. She reached in her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I went to the urgent care this morning. I've been feeling off for a few days." She handed me the paper. I unfolded it. It was a standard discharge summary. Positive HCG. Estimated gestational age, 7 weeks. I stared at the number. 7. I looked at the date on the paper. Today's date. I did the calculation. I didn't do it quickly. I did it carefully. In obstetrics, gestational age is calculated from the first day of the last menstrual period, LMP. Conception, the actual biological event, usually happens about 2 weeks after the LMP during ovulation. So, if the doctor says she is 7 weeks pregnant, the conception event occurred roughly 5 weeks ago. 5 weeks ago. I ran the timeline backward. Today is Tuesday. 5 weeks ago was a Tuesday. 5 weeks ago, I was in the middle of a screaming match with a logistics coordinator in Shanghai. I was 7,000 miles away. I ran the variables. Biology isn't a Swiss watch. Ovulation can drift. Sperm can survive inside the female reproductive tract for up to 5 days. Let's be generous. Let's give her the maximum biological leeway. If conception happened 4 weeks ago, I was still in China. If conception happened 4 weeks and 5 days ago, I was still in China. For me to be the biological father, the sperm would have had to survive inside her for nearly 10 days, or she would have had to be already pregnant when I left, which would make her 9 or 10 weeks along, not 7. The math didn't close. There was a discrepancy. I put the paper down on the table. I picked up my wine glass. I took a sip. I needed a second to stabilize my voice because the adrenaline was starting to dump into my system. Not the happy adrenaline, the combat adrenaline. "Jessica," I said, "this timeline is a problem." She froze. The smile didn't fade, it vanished. It was replaced by a look of sharp alertness. "What do you mean?" "The report says 7 weeks," I said. "That puts conception 5 weeks ago. I was in Shanghai 5 weeks ago. I didn't get back until the 24th. Now, watch the reaction. This is the tell. If you confront an innocent person with a factual impossibility, they get confused. Their brow furrows. They grab the paper. They say, "Wait, that can't be right. Let me look at the calendar. Did the doctor make a mistake? Did I calculate my period wrong?" They want to solve the puzzle because they know the solution leads back to the truth. Jessica didn't get confused. She got angry. Her posture stiffened. She pulled her shoulders back. She went on the offensive. "Are you serious?" she asked. Her voice dropped an octave. I sit here and tell you we're having a baby, and you're doing arithmetic? I'm always doing arithmetic, I said. That's how I pay the mortgage. And these numbers don't add up. For me to be the father, we have to assume a biological miracle occurred. You think I cheated on you? I think you are 7 weeks pregnant, and I have been on another continent for the last month. She stood up. She threw her napkin on the table. This is a dominance display. She needed to be physically higher than me. How dare you, she shouted. I am carrying your child. I am sick every morning. And you sit there and question my loyalty? This is abusive, Jude. There it is. The weaponized word. Abusive. In the current social climate, that word is a showstopper. It is designed to freeze the accused. It shifts the ground from, is this true, to are you a monster? If I question her, I am abusing a pregnant woman. I am endangering the fetus. I am the villain. She continued, the volume rising. You are trying to stress me out. You know stress is bad for the baby. You're trying to make me miscarry because you're too selfish to be a father. She was pivoting. She was moving the argument away from the timeline and onto my character. She was attacking my morality to distract from the logistics. I didn't stand up. I stayed seated. I kept my hands on the table, open and visible. I kept my voice flat. Stress is unfortunate, I said, but screaming doesn't change the calendar. The dates are impossible. I'm not saying no. I'm saying verify. I won't do it, she yelled. I won't let you drag me to a lab and stick needles in me just because you're insecure. It's not about insecurity, I said. It's about clarity. In a high-value partnership, clarity is kindness. I require a prenatal paternity test. It's insulting. It is a medical procedure. I countered. It's called NIPP, non-invasive prenatal paternity. They draw blood from you. They take a cheek swab from me. They isolate the fetal DNA in your plasma. It's safe. It's 99% accurate. We can know in 48 hours. If you loved me, you wouldn't need a test, she said. Love is a feeling, I said. Paternity is a genetic fact. One does not verify the other. If you buy a house, you inspect the foundation. If you merge a company, you audit the books. I am being asked to sign a contract for 18 years of liability and roughly $500,000 in support. I require proof of origin. You're cold, she spat. I'm accurate, I said. If I am the father, the test changes nothing between us. It gives me peace of mind. We celebrate. I apologize. We move on. If you refuse the test, you're telling me you are afraid of the result. So which is it? She stared at me. She was looking for a crack. She was looking for the part of me that was afraid of losing her. She wanted me to value her presence more than the truth. I didn't blink. I didn't look away. She realized the emotional shaming wasn't working. So she moved to the final leverage point, the asset. She grabbed her keys off the counter. I'm leaving, she said. I'm going to my mother's. And if I walk out that door, you're done. You will never see this child. You will never see me again. I will tell everyone that you abandoned your pregnant fiancé. She was threatening to withhold the child. She was threatening my reputation. I took a breath. I looked at the situation clearly. That is your choice, I said. But you need to understand the logistics of that decision. I turned in my chair to face her fully. I will not sign the birth certificate, I said. I will not provide a dime of support, voluntary or otherwise, without DNA verification. If you leave, my lawyer will file a petition to contest paternity tomorrow morning. The court will order the test eventually. It is mandatory for child support. So we have two options. I held up 2 fingers. Option A, we do the test now, privately, quietly. It costs $1,000. We know the truth this week. I dropped 1 finger. Option B, you leave. We do this in 6 months. We do it with lawyers. It costs $20,000. And the result is public record. But understand this. I will not be coerced into a liability that isn't mine. She stood by the door. Her hand was on the knob. She was shaking. For a second, I thought she might fold. I thought she might drop the keys and sit down and tell me the truth. But the ego is a heavy thing to carry. Admitting the lie meant admitting the betrayal. It meant destroying the image she had built of herself as the loyal partner. She opened the door. "Go to hell, Jude." She slammed it behind her. I didn't chase her. That is the mistake most men make. They run after the car. They beg. They apologize for being right. If you chase, you validate the tantrum. You tell them that their anger is more important than your facts. I locked the deadbolt. I went back to the table. I poured the rest of the wine down the sink. I didn't want it. Then I sat down and opened my laptop. Step 1. Security. I logged into her joint accounts. I transferred my contribution, and only my contribution, back to my personal account. I left her money untouched. I'm not a thief. I'm just mitigating exposure. Step 2. Access. I emailed the landlord. Told him I lost a key and needed the cylinder changed immediately. I paid the emergency fee. Step 3. Documentation. I wrote down everything that had just happened. Time, date, exact quotes. Memory is fallible. Written records are evidence. The next 2 days were quiet. The apartment felt large. Then the social pressure started. The flying monkeys. That's the term for the people the narcissist recruits to do their bidding. Her friends started texting me. "I can't believe you. She's pregnant and alone. How could you be so cruel? You need to man up." They didn't know the timeline. They only knew the story she told them. That I got scared of the pregnancy and kicked her out. I didn't respond. I didn't defend myself. You cannot win an argument with people who are operating on secondhand emotion. I blocked the numbers. Thursday night, my phone rang. It was Jessica. I let go to voicemail. I wanted to hear the tone before I engaged. The voicemail was crying. Soft, broken crying. "Jude, please pick up. I'm scared. I miss you." I waited 10 minutes. Then I called back. "Hello," I said. No endearments. "I don't want to fight," she said. Her voice was small. "I just want to come home." "I don't want to fight either," I said. "I just want the test." Silence. "Why is that the only thing you care about?" she asked. "Because it is the only thing that matters right now," I said. "Without the truth, there is no foundation." "It was just one night," she whispered. I closed my eyes. There it was. The trickle truth. "Tell me," I said. "You were gone," she said. "I was lonely. You were barely calling. I went out with the girls. We had drinks. We ran into some guys. It just happened. It didn't mean anything. It was a mistake." "Who is he?" "It doesn't matter," she said quickly. "He's nobody. He's not you. I love you. You are the one I want a life with." Then came a sales pitch. "Jude, biology is just a technicality," she said. "Being a father is about who shows up. You could be the father. You are the father in every way that counts. We could just put this behind us. We don't need to tell anyone." She was offering me the deal. The fraud. She wanted me to sign the contract knowing the goods were counterfeit. She was banking on my sunk cost, the 3 years, the plan, the house, to make me accept the compromise. I looked around the apartment. I looked at the empty space where her things used to be. "Jessica," I said, "if you had told me this the moment I walked in the door, maybe we could have had a conversation. But you didn't. You tried to trick me. You looked me in the eye and lied. You tried to make me question my own sanity so you could cover your tracks. I was scared. Fear is not an excuse for fraud," I said. "You tried to entrap me financially and emotionally for the next 18 years. That isn't a mistake. That is a calculation. So you're throwing it all away?" "I'm not throwing it away," I said. "It's already gone. You broke it when you invited a stranger into our bed and then tried to bill me for the consequences." "I need you," she said. "I can't do this alone." "Then call the biological father," I said. "He is the one with the liability." I hung up. I called the courier service the next morning. I packed her clothes, her books, her toiletries. I didn't break anything. I didn't cut anything. I folded everything neatly. I put the box with the shoes and the pregnancy test on top. I had it delivered to her mother's house. Signature required. I have a receipt. My lawyer sent the letter yesterday. It states clearly that I contest paternity and that any attempt to name me on the birth certificate will be met with immediate legal action, including a request for court-ordered DNA testing and reimbursement for legal fees. People tell me I'm harsh. They say, but she made a mistake. Cheating is a choice, not a mistake. Lying about the paternity of a child is fraud. It is the only type of fraud where society shames the victim for demanding proof. If a business partner tried to embezzle $250,000 from me, nobody would tell me to work it out for the sake of the partnership. They would tell me to call the police. This is no different. I'm not happy. I'm not celebrating. I wanted the family. I wanted the kid. But I wanted my family. I wanted the truth. So, the timeline stands. The books are balanced. The loss is cut. Pour the whiskey. We have work to do on the Tokyo deal, and I need to focus on a contract where the signatures actually mean something. Thank you for listening. That brings today's story to a close. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. See you next time.